Hello everyone, welcome back. The topic is sampling and sample designs. Now this is a step in the survey and you will also find this particular topic in the research methodology from public health dentistry. Now what exactly is survey? So survey is an investigation in which the information is systematically collected but in which the experimental method is not used. So survey is basically nothing but you're doing some research. So you want to do the research. Now particularly for example, you want to do the research. What is the caries rate in that particular area? So in that you go for the survey that you're doing just you're collecting the information from that particular area, but you don't do any experiment on them. So that becomes a survey. So survey, they are a very traditional way of conducting the research. So now what is sampling? Now, as I said, it is a step in survey. So now when you want to do a study or when you want to do a research, so now in that case, now it is very impossible to conduct the examination on every individual which is present in that particular area. Now, as I said, we want to see about the caries rate in a particular area. So if there are 1,000 or 10,000 people in that particular area, so it becomes impossible to examine each and every person. So in that case, you go for sampling. Now, why is it impossible? Because in that you have the restraints of time, manpower, money. So because of that, you cannot do like the research or the study on every individual. And in that case, you go for the sampling. So sampling, it is the process of selecting a number of individuals for a study in such a way that the individual, they represent the larger group from which they were selected. So sampling is nothing but you're selecting the sample from that particular area. So sample, it is a smaller but hopefully a representative collection of the units from a population. So over here, this is the larger population in which, for example, there are 1,000 people. So sample is nothing but you are selecting some of the people from this 1,000 people, and this sample, it should be such that they are representing whatever the disease is. So you are selecting such samples so that they are representing whatever the disease is at the highest rate, and then you give the prevalence or the incidence of whatever the disease is to that like population. So now what you do in this, so this is a study population. So you select a few sampling units from the study population, that becomes your sample. Now you collect the information from this people to find the answer to your research question. So you want to see, so your research is to see the caries rate. So you collect whatever the information from this sample only, and then you make an estimate of their prevalence in the study population, and then you're just giving the prevalence that yes, this is the caries rate in this sample, so this would be the caries rate in this particular population also. So this sample, it is known as a reference or a parent population. Now, what are the advantages of sampling? So it reduces the cost of investigation, the time required, and the number of personnel which are involved. So this was the main three reasons because of which we cannot do the examination on each and every person. So because of that only, we are selecting that sample. So this is the main advantage, that it is reducing the cost as the number of people are also reducing, the time required, and the number of personnel, that is your manpower to do the study. Then it allows a thorough investigation of the units of the observation, as the number of people, they are less. So because of that, you can do proper investigation on that particular sample only. Then it helps to provide adequate and in-depth coverage of the sample unit, because now again the number of people is less. So because of that, you can like ask each and everything about that particular research you want to do in depth, and because of that, you're covering everything about the research in that sample units. Now, what are the ideal requirements of a sample? So first is efficiency. It means that it is the ability of the sample to yield the desired result. That means your sample, they should be efficient enough. The next is representativeness. Now, as I said, we are selecting some people from a larger population. So your sample, they should be representative of the parent population, that when you give the results, so when you give the inferences of your study, so it should be in like you are giving the inference for the whole population and not only for the sample. The next is measurability. So in this, now you should be able to measure the difference between the sample and the parent population. The next is size. So in this, the size of your sample, they should be large enough so that you are getting the proper result that you want. The next is coverage. So in this, now adequate coverage, it is essential. So that the sample has to remain representative. The next is goal orientation. Now in this, the sample selection, it should be oriented towards the study objective and the research design. So you are like orienting your goal and you are giving whatever your research is to that sample only. The next is feasibility. Now in this, the design, it should be simple enough to be carried out in practice. So it should be feasible enough. And the last ideal requirement is economy and cost efficiency. So in this, the sample design, it should be such that it should yield the desired information with minimum price. So that are your ideal requirements of the sample. Now, what are the various sampling methods? So sampling method is basically divided into two, that is probability and non-probability. So we are going to see about all this probability and the non-probability sampling method. Starting with the first, that is this simple random sampling. Now sampling is selecting some people from that huge population. So the first method of selecting your sample is a simple random sampling. So in this, every person in the population, they have an equal chance of being included in your research. Now this simple random sampling is done when the population is small, when it is homogeneous, that means that there are no various or different characteristics in your particular population, and when the population it is readily available, and then only you can do this simple random sampling. Now the selection of the unit, that is the selection of the people, is by chance only. So to measure or to ensure the randomness, one may choose one of the following methods. So in this simple random sampling, you have two methods. So you can do any of this. So first one is a lottery method. So lottery method is basically the same thing that you have heard about the lottery. So in this, various units of the population, they are numbered on a small and identical strip of paper. So what you're doing is, now for example, there are 100 people and you want to do the research only on 20 people. So you're going to write like the number from 1 to 100 on a strip of paper, and then you're going to fold it properly, and then you're going to mix it thoroughly. So like this, these are the balls, but what you do in like this lottery method for your simple random is you write the number and you like just fold it, and then you're mixing it thoroughly, and then a blindfold selection is then made to constitute the desired sample size, and then you're just selecting the like the from that 100 chits you're selecting 20 chits, because now you want to do the research on 20 people, so you're going to select those 20 chits. So this is the lottery method. That now in this you have seen we are selecting the people from this lottery method. The next one is table of random method. So in this, you're going to select any random page and you are going to pick any row and column at random. So this is a table of random that you're selecting any page. So for example, now you have written 100 numbers randomly. So like this, you have written any number like randomly in a row or in a column. So what you're going to do in this table of random is you're going to select any column or any row randomly. So because of that, it is known as simple random sampling. The next one is the systematic sampling. So in this, you're going to select at random the first person from the list, and then you are going to choose every X number until the total desired sample it has been selected. So this is the systematic sampling. Like what you do in this is, first you're going to write the numbers like systematically, and then you're going to choose randomly the first person, and then you like think you have to like select the person at every like 10th person. So for example, now over here, so we have selected randomly the person at 12th. So after that, you have like decided that I'm going to choose the person after every alternate number. So this is like you have chosen from 12, and then you choose from 14, then you choose from 16, then you choose from 18. So this is the systematic sampling, that you're arranging the people systematically, and then you choose any person randomly, first person randomly, and then you like choose every X number like we have decided. Like you have decided, for example, I'm going to choose the person after every like 3 numbers. So for example, you're choosing the first person at 3, then you're going to choose the next one at 6, then you're going to choose the next one at 9 number. So like this is your systematic sampling. Now it is used when a complete list of the population from which sample it has to be drawn is available. So in this systematic sampling, you have to see that you have a complete list of the population, and here we take every k like house or the item from the sampling frame. So this is basically your systematic sampling, that over here, so the person who was standing at 12, and then you have like said that I want to select person at every alternate number. So then you're going to select at 14, then you're going to select at 16, then 18, then 20. Like this, you're going to select till you get your desired sample like number which you want to do the study on. So this is your sample that you have selected from your larger population. Next one is the stratified sampling. So in this, when the population it is composed of diverse segment. Now, for example, stratified sampling is nothing but you're making the strata of the people. So in this, the people, they are classified into subgroups or strata, following which separate samples from each stratum they are selected by the simple random sampling method. So what it is, so stratified is nothing but now there are like various people of different age group. So what you do is you prepare the subgroups, like for example, the subgroup from 5 to 10. Then the next subgroup is 10 to 20. The next subgroup is 20 to 30. So like this, you like create various subgroups, and then you keep the people, so you ask the people to stand in their particular subgroups. So in from that, it becomes the subgroups or the strata, and then you select the people from that particular like stratum. So over here, so for example, this is the subgroups that we have divided is females and males, and then you're going to select some females from that particular like stratum, and you're going to select some males from this particular male stratum. So this becomes your whole sample. So stratification, it is an appropriate technique for obtaining the separate estimates for the population parameter for each subgroup. Like for example, there are workers, so you're dividing the workers into skilled and unskilled, and then you're going to select some people from skilled and you're selecting some people from unskilled. Then can be the other example can be the religion, so you're dividing the people according to the religion. So then you're going to select some from the Hindus, then you're going to select some from the Muslims, then you're going to select some from the Christians. So like this, you're doing the like you're creating these stratums, and then you're selecting the samples from that particular stratum. Then as I said, other example is your age group wise stratum. So this is your stratified sampling. This is a cluster sampling. So what is cluster? Cluster, it is the smallest unit in which the population can be described. So cluster sampling is nothing but when it is occurring naturally. So now for example, villages, wards, slums of a town, factories, school children, etc. They are like considered as the cluster because they are naturally occurring. So what you do in this cluster sampling is you select whole of the village for your research. So your whole of the village is your sampling unit, or it can be whole of the ward in a particular hospital is considered as a sampling unit for your research. Or for example, now there are various slums in a city, so you consider a whole slum only as your sampling unit. So that becomes a cluster sampling, that you're selecting whole of that particular group that is naturally occurring. So it is used in a national survey. So when you want to do the survey on a very large scale, so in that case, you're using this cluster sampling that you're selecting. Now in national survey, you have various states, you have various cities. So what you do in national survey is you select whole of the city only as your sampling unit. Then in this, the cluster, they are internally heterogeneous because now cluster, now it is the village. So in village, you have various age group people, you have various religion people. So that means your cluster, they are heterogeneous. Whereas we have seen that strata, they were homogeneous, that you are selecting people of the particular age, you are selecting people from the particular like religion. So because of that strata, they are homogeneous, whereas the cluster, they are heterogeneous. So usually 30 cluster, they are randomly selected. The entire population is selected. In the cluster, it is studied. So that becomes your cluster sampling. Next is the multi-phase sampling. Now in this, the part of information, it is collected from the whole sample, and the part it is collected from the subsample. Now for example, you want to do a survey on tuberculosis. So in this, the first phase is you're doing the Mantoux test, which is done on all the cases, because now this Mantoux test, it is simple and cheap. So if there are 100 people in your population, so you're doing this Mantoux test in the first phase on all that 100 people. The next phase, so this becomes your first phase. The next phase is your chest x-ray. So you're doing the chest x-ray only for the positive cases. Now in this 100 people, 50 are negative and 50 are positive. So now you're going to do the chest x-ray only on those 50 which has came positive. The next phase is, so this becomes your second phase, that is your chest x-ray. The third phase is sputum examination, as it is a concentrate technique. So you're doing the sputum examination, for example, only on the severe form of tuberculosis. So now in this positive cases also, you see that 30 are severe and 20 are not severe. So you're doing the sputum examination only on that 30 people who have the like severe form of tuberculosis. So that becomes your like multi-phase sampling, because now over here, these are the various phases and you're doing the sampling on this various phases in multi steps. So now you will see that when the phases, they are coming down and down, so because of that the number is also getting reduced, because over here in the first phase, so the people were 100. Now in the next phase they were 50. Now the third phase, they are getting like even more smaller and smaller, that over here they were 30. So this is your multi-phase sampling. So the survey by such procedure, it is less costly, then it is less laborious, and it is more purposeful. So this is your multi-phase sampling. And the last like sampling method from probability is a multi-stage sampling. So the first stage is to select the group or cluster. Now as it is a multi-stage, so again you're doing the sampling in stages, in various stages. So the first stage will be you're selecting a group or a cluster. Then subsamples are taken in a subsequent stage as necessary to obtain the desired sample size. Now for example, you want to see the nutrition state of particular, like you want to see or you want to do the research on the nutrition state. So first stage is you're going to select a state in a country. Now over here, India is your country. So you're going to select a particular state in this country. So the next stage will be you're selecting a town from that state. So now you have selected a state. Then you're going to select in the second stage a district from that particular state. Then what you're going to do in the third stage is you're going to select particular village from that particular district. And lastly, in the fourth stage, what you will do is you select some households from that particular village. So that becomes your multi-stage, that you're doing the sampling on various stages. Now moving on towards the non-probability sampling. So the first one is the quota sampling. Now in this, the researcher, they decide in advance on some key characteristics that will define the strata, and the only requirement is that the right number of people can be somehow found to fill this quota. Now for example, a researcher, he is interested in the attitude of the members of different states towards the ban of smoking. So what he is doing is, first he is going to select a strata, that is, for example, he is selecting Karnataka. Now you will see that in Karnataka, Kashmiris and Rajasthanis, they will be very less, because now the state is Karnataka. So because of that, what he does is he creates a quota that there should be at least 3% of Kashmiris and 3% of Rajasthani in that particular state. So because of that, now he is giving that quota that yes, I want to do the research in Karnataka, but I want such particular people of different states in my strata. So that becomes your quota sampling. The next one is the purposive sampling. Now, snowball sampling, it is a subset of this purposive sampling. So in this, a researcher may have a specific group in mind, such as he want to do the research only on a high-level business executive. So over here, purposive sampling is when the researcher, he have something in his mind that what he want to do the research of, and only on what type of people he want to do the research on. So it may not be possible to specify the population in this purposive sampling, because the access to such people may be difficult. So this is the disadvantage for your purposive sampling. Now snowball sample is a subset of the purposive sampling, and it is known as a chain referral sampling. Now in this, what you do is the researcher, he selects a few participants who then suggests other who may be willing to participate. So basically, when it is a purposive, so this is a difficult type of sampling. So what he does is the people, they can't be available easily for this type of sampling. So what he is doing, so in this, the researcher is selecting, for example, only 2 people. Now these 2 people, they are the high level business executive. Now as they are high level business executive, so these people, they will suggest some more people. So like this, they will suggest some people. So your study, it will go to 5, and now this 5 people, they again will suggest some more business executive. So like this, your sampling unit, it is getting bigger and bigger. So like this, the researcher, he starts with the study only on 2, then this 2 people, they will suggest more, then this people, they will suggest more. So like this, your sample, it is getting bigger and bigger. So now in this, the snowball samples, they are particularly useful in hard to track populations such as drug dealers, because now you cannot get easily, you do not know who the drug dealers are. So the researcher, he starts with some drug dealers that are only 2, which he knows. Then those drug dealers, he will suggest more drug dealers. So like this, this is known as snowball, because now when the snow, it is falling off a hill, so the snowball, it is very small, but now as it is falling from the hill, it gets bigger and bigger because of the accumulation of the snow. So this is how your snowball, it looks like when it falls off the hill. So this is the snowball sampling, that the researcher, he starts the study with some units, and then this subunits, they will suggest other people for this particular sampling. Next one is the convenience sampling. So in this, when the selection is made from the available resources like telephone directory, automobile registers, etc. So convenience is, as the name says, the sampling units, they should be convenient enough to get for your research. So this is the convenience, and there's one more, which is known as a voluntary sampling in the non-probability sampling. Voluntary now is when the people are only voluntary coming for your research. So that is your voluntary, and this one is your convenience sampling, that your sampling, it should be done conveniently depending on the convenience of your sample unit. So this was all about the sampling and the sample design. I hope you found this video helpful, and this is a very commonly asked question in your exam. So you should know about these various sampling methods very well. Thank you so much.